Emma Parker tightened her coat as she stepped out of St. Luke's Hospital for the last time. Her heart pounded with disbelief. 5 years of dedication, gone in a single conversation. "We appreciate your service, but due to budget cuts." The words from her supervisor echoed in her mind like a cruel joke. She had been a nurse through the worst of times, overtime shifts, sleepless nights, holding the hands of patients who had no one else. And this was her reward? A termination letter? Tears burned in her eyes, but she swallowed them down. Breaking down wouldn't pay the rent, wouldn't fix the reality of being jobless in a city like New York, where life moved fast and didn't stop for anyone. As she walked through the bustling streets of Manhattan, the crisp autumn air felt heavier than usual. She barely noticed the crowd gathering near the sidewalk, until she heard the panic in their voices. "Somebody help him." Emma's head snapped up. A man was collapsed on the pavement, his face pale, his chest still. Instinct took over. Pushing through the bystanders, she dropped to her knees. Fingers to his neck, weak pulse, shallow breaths. His life hung by a thread. Without hesitation, she started CPR. The world around her blurred. No job, no future, no uncertainty. Just her training, her purpose. 1, 2, 3. She counted, pressing his chest. Minutes felt like hours. Then, his body jerked. A sharp gasp tore through his lungs. The crowd erupted in relieved murmurs. Emma exhaled, her hands trembling. She had saved him. That was all that mattered. She didn't wait for gratitude, didn't stay for the paramedics. Just turned and walked away, unaware that in the next 24 hours, her life would change in ways she never imagined. Her mind replayed the moment over and over. The man on the pavement, his still body, the way he gasped for air when she brought him back. She had done what any nurse would do. Yet, something about it felt different. Morning sunlight streamed through her tiny apartment window as she sat at the kitchen table, staring at the stack of unpaid bills. Rent was due in a week. Her savings wouldn't last long. And job hunting? That could take months. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Is this Emma Parker?" A deep, polished voice asked. "Yes," she said cautiously. "My name is James Lawson. You saved my father's life yesterday." Emma's grip on the phone tightened. She hadn't even seen the man's face properly, just the desperate need to act. How is he?" she asked. "He's stable, thanks to you." There was a pause. "I'd like to meet you." Emma frowned. "That's not necessary, I was just—" "Please," James interrupted. "You don't understand. You saved a very important man. I need to see you." Before she could argue, he added an address, an upscale cafe in Midtown Manhattan, the kind of place she'd never afford. 2 hours later, Emma walked into the cafe, her worn-out shoes and thrift store coat, making her feel out of place. James Lawson was already there, sitting at a corner table. Tall, well-dressed, sharp eyes that studied her with an intensity that made her uneasy. "I'm grateful for what you did," he said as she sat down. "But I need to ask, why did you walk away?" Emma shifted uncomfortably. "I'm a nurse. Saving people is what I do." James leaned forward. "You didn't know who he was, did you?" She shook her head. "My father is Richard Lawson, Chief Executive Officer of Lawson Enterprises, one of the wealthiest men in New York." Emma blinked. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but she never paid attention to billionaires. James smiled slightly. "He doesn't just owe you his life. I do too." Before Emma could respond, he slid an envelope across the table. "Consider this a token of gratitude." She hesitated before opening it. Her breath hitched. A check. For $250,000. Her heart pounded. This wasn't happening. I can't take this," she stammered. James's expression turned serious. "You can, and you should, but that's not all." Emma looked at him warily. "What do you mean?" James leaned back. "Let's just say, this is only the beginning." At that moment, she had no idea how right he was. Emma stared at the check in her trembling hands. $250,000. It was more money than she had ever seen in her life. Rent, bills, groceries, this could solve everything. But something inside her hesitated. She placed the envelope back on the table and looked James in the eye. I appreciate this, but I didn't save your father for a reward. James studied her, then chuckled softly. I figured you'd say that. But this isn't charity, Emma. It's gratitude. She exhaled. The logical part of her brain screamed to take the money. Her situation was desperate. But before she could decide, James spoke again. I told you, this is just the beginning. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a sleek black card, sliding it across the table. Come to this address tomorrow morning at 9. My father wants to meet you. Emma hesitated. Everything about this felt surreal, but curiosity gnawed at her. What exactly was she walking into? The next morning, Emma took the subway uptown, gripping the black card in her hands. It led her to a towering glass skyscraper with the name Lawson Enterprises in bold letters. Inside, the lobby was pristine. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, men in sharp suits, and women in elegant dresses. Emma suddenly felt out of place in her simple blouse and coat. A receptionist greeted her. Miss Parker, Mr. Lawson is expecting you. She was led into a private elevator that shot up to the top floor. When the doors opened, she stepped into a breathtaking office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the New York skyline. And there he was, Richard Lawson, seated in a massive leather chair, the man she had saved. His silver hair was neatly combed, his suit impeccable, but his eyes, sharp and calculating, watched her with quiet intensity. You must be Emma Parker, he said, his voice deep and commanding. Yes, sir, she replied, suddenly feeling small under his gaze. Richard motioned for her to sit. I owe you my life. Emma shook her head. I was just doing what any nurse would do. Richard smirked. Most people would have walked away. You didn't. He leaned forward. That tells me something about you. Emma swallowed. I wasn't expecting anything in return. Richard nodded slowly. And that's exactly why I want to offer you something. Emma tensed. Offer me what? Richard gestured toward James, who had been standing silently by the window. My son tells me you're an exceptional nurse. Emma's brows furrowed. I lost my job. Richard waved a hand dismissively. Their loss, but my gain. He paused. I want you to work for me. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Work for you? As what? Richard's lips curled into a knowing smile. As my personal medical advisor, live in. Full benefits, triple what you were making before. Emma's breath caught. Was this really happening? I don't know what to say. Say yes, James interjected. Emma glanced between father and son. Something about this still felt too good to be true. But before she could respond, Richard leaned back and smirked. Take the night to think about it, but trust me, you won't regret it. Little did Emma know, this decision would change her life forever. Emma sat on the edge of her bed that night, staring at the ceiling. The offer Richard Lawson had made was unbelievable. Triple her previous salary, full benefits, and a position unlike anything she'd ever imagined. But something about it unsettled her. Why her? She had saved his life, yes. But why go to such lengths to bring her into his world? Her fingers traced the edge of the black business card James had given her, his words still echoing in her mind. Say yes. By morning, she had made her decision. When she arrived back at the towering Lawson Enterprises building, James was already waiting for her in the lobby. I was hoping you'd come, he said with a grin. She took a deep breath. I want to say yes, but I need to understand exactly what this job entails. James smirked. My father will explain everything. Minutes later, Emma stood in Richard Lawson's office again. He studied her with the same intense gaze as the day before. "You've made a decision?" he asked. Emma nodded. "I'll take the job, but I need clarity." Richard's lips curled into a small smile. "Good." He stood and walked toward the massive windows, his hands behind his back. "This isn't just about medical care, Emma. I need someone I can trust." He turned to face her. "Someone who won't ask too many questions." Emma stiffened. "What do you mean?" Richard chuckled. "Nothing illegal, if that's what you're worried about. But my life, it comes with complications." Emma's heartbeat quickened. Complications. Before Richard could answer, James stepped forward. "You'll be my father's personal medical advisor, traveling when necessary, ensuring his health is monitored at all times. You'll live in the guest house on the estate." Emma hesitated. "Live in?" Richard nodded. "Consider it part of your compensation. I prefer my team close." Something about the way he said team sent a chill down her spine. She had just stepped into a world far beyond what she ever imagined. Lauren's hands trembled as she reached for the letter that the man had handed her. The envelope was thick, embossed with gold, and had an air of importance. Her heart pounded as she unfolded the paper inside. "Dear Ms. Lauren Carter, we are honored to inform you that you have been selected as the recipient of the Preston Humanitarian Award for your exceptional act of selflessness. Along with this award, you will receive a $500,000 grant to continue your work in saving lives and assisting those in need. Your kindness has inspired not just one life, but countless others. We hope this reward helps you build the future you deserve. With gratitude, the Preston Foundation." Tears streamed down Lauren's face. Her entire world had flipped in the past 24 hours. From losing her job to saving a man's life, and now this, a life-changing opportunity. The 4 luxury cars outside weren't just for show. They belonged to representatives from major hospitals and organizations who wanted to hire her, support her, and be part of her journey. One of them, a woman in a navy blue business suit, stepped forward. "Ms. Carter, I'm Dr. Emily Sanders from St. John's Medical Center. We would be honored if you joined our hospital. Name your position, name your salary. We want you on our team." Another man, tall and serious-looking, stepped in. "I represent a private medical institution that supports independent clinics. If you're interested, we can fund your own practice." Lauren was speechless. Just yesterday she had no job, no hope, no clear direction. And now doors were opening in ways she never imagined. She turned to Mr. Preston, who was watching her with a knowing smile. "Why are you doing this for me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He chuckled softly. "Because, Lauren, when I was gasping for my last breath, you didn't see a wealthy man. You just saw a human in need. The world needs more people like you, and I won't let someone like you go unnoticed." Lauren took a deep breath, looking at the people around her. She had spent years caring for others, sacrificing, giving everything she had, without expecting anything in return. And now, life was finally giving back. With gratitude in her heart and a newfound sense of purpose, she smiled through her tears and whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning."